Seeing as we have a quorum, we'll call this meeting to order. Apologize, we're a few minutes late as the budget subcommittee meeting ran a little bit late. Doc.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I'd like to alert everyone that in advance of the meeting, we received communications that school committee member Jeff Koopman and school committee member Mitch Akinarelli would not be able to join us this evening. Wish everyone the best, and they continue to reference the fact they're monitoring the activities and the agendas from the fire. Also, I'd like to ask the body to recognize a moment of silence for the unfortunate loss of Lori Ann Lavin, John's wife. God bless. Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman?
Thank you. First item on the agenda, Secretary's report.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I've reviewed the minutes of the regular meeting of December 15th, 2016, and I recommend passage of these minutes, and I'm looking for a vote.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Lavin, second by Ms. Mitchell. Questions, comments, discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Minutes are approved. Next item on the agenda is the treasurer's report.
Yes. The treasurer's report was in the package here this evening. At the beginning of December, we had $5,807,001.79. At the end of December, we had $4,894,518.84. And during the month, we had payroll warrants. We have some one-time payments that are due in December for pensions, and so you can see that the payroll and the accounts payable amounts are somewhat higher, and that's due to that one-time payment that we make for the pension in December. We're also, I wanted to report that about half of the towns have submitted their assessment payments to us at this point. And in terms of revenues, everything else was pretty much as expected. Some of our revolving account revenues have been up this particular month. But besides that, we're in good shape. Any other questions?
Questions, Mr. Commissioner?
Just a curiosity, you referenced the idea of only half the fee of the point. Is that fairly normal, or is that something extraordinarily different, or just pretty much the run-of-the-mill?
The payment isn't due till February 1st, and as of today, we received more than half, so the majority of them
Pretty
will
much
come
normal.
in. Yeah, pretty
Okay.
much normal. The majority of them will come in.
Thank you.
The rest of them next week. Yep.
Any other questions for Ms. Ogier?
Bob, the treasurer is also assisting us with the final documentation from the MSBA.
Yes, you wanted me to cover that
Am I
now?
jumping?
Oh, I was gonna wait till the vote and then talk about
Okay,
MCA.
I would suggest you do that following the vote. Thank
Okay.
you.
Any other questions? I'll entertain a vote. Or entertain a motion, rather, sorry.
Motion to accept the... Second.
Motion made by
Report is
Mr. Bartlett, second by Mr. Hanratty. Any questions, comments, discussion on the treasurer's report? Seeing none, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? At this,
So, Mr. Chairman,
Oh, yes.
I'd also like to report that we've been successful in securing another budget revision for this project. So we received that notification last week that had been previously processed by us before the first budget revision was received, but I don't know what caused some of the confusion at the state level, but I know Kurt had to contact the state and work with them to get that first request approved, and that happened last week. So it was loaded into propay today and submitted for approval at the state to adjust the budget. And I prepared a reimbursement request number 4 and prepared all those documents, left them with Kurt this afternoon. So we'll be looking to receive some of, it'll probably bring us close to the 90% limit which is the maximum we can receive before the project closes. So, that should be the last request before we do the audit.
Great. Anything else? You all set, Mo?
I am all set, thank you.
Thank you. Right. Moving on, next, as is part of our process here at Valley Tech, for our January meeting, we elect our new officers and conduct our appointments. I will hand the meeting over to Dr. Fitzpatrick.
I'd like to reference to the home audience and everyone to make them aware that the flowers that are on display before we elect the officers for our school committee were donated by Don Pruill of the Douglas Flower Shop, 320 Main Street, Douglas. And those flowers were on vivid display at last night's nursing graduation, which included Senator Michael Moore, Representative David Moradian, Representative Kevin Kurros, and the Secretary of Veteran Services for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Francisco. And we were delighted to see that those gentlemen joined us for the presentation, and the flowers certainly added to the festivities of the 25 graduates. So we thank the Douglas Flower Shop for that donation. The floor is now open for a nomination of the chair.
Nominate Mr. Hall as the Education Regional District Committee Chair. Second.
Seconded by Mr. Lavin. Do you accept the nomination?
I do.
Any
Move
further?
nominations closed.
Nominations been moved closed. Any objection? Vote on the closing of the nomination. Those in favor?
Aye.
We'll pass now a symbolic vote for the single. Those in favor? The chair. I'll turn the meeting back over to the newly elected chair, Mr. Flowers.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for your confidence in the ongoing support here at Valley Tech. Next item on the agenda, Michelle, open the floor for nominations for vice chair.
I nominate Mr. Finn.
Second.
Nomination made by Mr. Henry, second by Ms. Mitchell. Mr. Finn, do you accept the nomination?
I do.
Move nominations closed.
I have a motion to close nominations.
Second.
And second. Take a vote on the motion to close nominations. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Nominations are now closed. We will now take a vote on Mr. Finn as vice chair. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much, Mr. Finn.
Thank you very much for your comments.
Next, secretary. While this is an appointment, we do open the floor for discussion and opportunity. Traditionally, Mr. Yates, you've been secretary. Do you want to continue in that capacity?
Yeah, I would.
So I hereby appoint Mr. Yates as secretary. Next is the assistant treasurer. Also an appointment.
I'm the assistant.
I'm sorry, Mr. Moore?
Did you ask who's the assistant?
I didn't ask who it
Oh,
was.
all right.
Who shall it be?
Who shall it be is the question.
Well,
Did you want to take on that role?
yes, I will.
But no mileage.
No mileage.
Get used to it after a while.
Still don't get mileage.
All right, Mr. Moran is now appointed as the assistant treasurer. Thank you very much for continuing to serve that capacity. Next, we need 3 payroll warrant signers.
I'll stay.
Ms. Mitchell,
I'll stay.
Tim,
I am.
will you continue that?
I get a new set of tires, but
You still don't get mileage for that one, do
He doesn't get mileage, but thankfully we do have some people in the building that could help with,
Yeah.
putting the tires on for him.
still good. No,
Thank you very much for serving that capacity, Mr. Abling, Ms. Mitchell, and Mr. Moran as the warrant signers. Then the alternate. Mr. Bartlett. Great. Mr. Bartlett will take you as appoint you as the alternate payroll warrant signer. And that shall conclude the elections and appointments. Next item on the agenda, the Chronicle. Yes.
I'd like to congratulate the newly elected officers, in many cases re-elected officers, and thank them for their service throughout the year. We have received a communication since the program was aired on Chronicle. This is from the producer. Dear Dr. Fitzpatrick, thank you. We love visiting your school and highlighting the great work that is done there. All the best, Stan Levin. So it's great to see that they're recognized. Nicole, let it roll.
I think she was too efficient in her prep. I've done that before too. Right.
The escape you've been waiting for is at Watertown Ford. This week, own a 2017 Ford Escape SE 4-wheel drive for just $19,995 or lease for $235 per month with 0 down. Watertown Ford. Quick, easy, seamless.
This has nothing to do with
WatertownFord.com.
facilities request for a new
I was
vehicle.
gonna That wasn't bad, 235.
Artie's not getting a car.
Huh? A lot better than 40 grand.
I like it.
I was gonna say, it's got the big. I guess that was working too. I know they were sure to get the advertisement to work.
Wow, ever since we elected new officers, Nicole.
Billy Joel's playing February. Hoping to play that Ford ad. They will.
Maybe this time it'll be a Chevy.
Well, you should consider all options.
Got 2 windows open, 2 front.
Mr. Chairman, may I recommend we move on to student representatives?
Yeah.
If
You might
Nicole,
do
if
that.
you close everything out, it's probably because of a plug-in or something of that nature.
While Nicole continues to work on that, we'll move on and take the student representative, Grace and Colin.
So at our last meeting, we added to a fall tree that we made just around Thanksgiving. And originally what we did was we had council members make leaves out of paper, and they wrote things that they were thankful for. And so we put the tree up in the lobby of the school, and they put all the leaves around branches of the tree. At our last meeting, we were brought an idea from a student, Carney Murray, who is a junior at BVT, and she came up with an idea to make snowflakes out of paper and write New Year's resolutions on them and then put them at the base of the tree. So at our last meeting, we had all of our council members make a paper snowflake with scissors and obviously paper, and they wrote down their New Year's resolutions. And so once we got them all in, we took them and we taped them to the bottom of the tree as if the snow was falling. Also, our council will be participating in the MASC Poet Plunge at the annual state conference in Hyannis. Although not all of our members will be making the plunge, we still encourage council members to sign up for our team online and fundraise for that, and all the proceeds go to Special Olympics Massachusetts. Lastly, in the fall, we had a great BVT showing of students at the Westboro Bocce Tournament for Special Olympics. This Sunday, there's another competition at Rockland High School, so we hope to have another great appearance of BVT students at that.
Just before the holiday break, our advisors read over several applications of students that are looking to attend the annual state conference. Unfortunately, we can only take 16 students and we can't take everyone that applied. So the students that are attending are sophomores Nolan Beckwith, Jacob Stevens, Josh DeLuca, Liv Mahoney, Emily Donnelly, Katie Housekeeper, Adele Brochu, Kaylee Ferreira, and Rachel Vachon, and juniors Colin Mitchell, Shannon Bethel, Josie Burlingame, Carney Murray, and Lacey, and seniors myself. The state conference takes place in Hyannis every year and consists of 3 days full of workshops, keynote speakers, state-level awards, as well as electing the new executive board for the state. It just provides a great opportunity for students and advisors to network with each other. Next up is our first ever regional community service bonding event. So I am a regional executive board member. I'm the public relations officer for the CD Mask Executive Board. And the past few months we've been working really hard on planning a bonding event that's new and it's innovative and fun. And we've actually never done a community service-based bonding event. So we try to do one every few months, and so we decided instead of going to PINS or Sky Zone, we'd make this one giving back to our community. So on February 4th, we're inviting all of the students in the region to come to Grafton High School for a few hours, and we're going to be doing projects such as writing cards for children at St. Jude's Hospital. The activity I'm running is I'm making dog toys out of old t-shirts that we're going to drop off at local shelters. We're also going to be making big, giant cards that are thank you Valentines for local police stations and fire stations and stuff like that to thank the people that are, keeping our community going. And we're also going to be giving out free t-shirts and pizza, and it's going to be a great event. So we're really hoping that a lot of the students here go. I know a lot of people have already expressed an interest to me, so we're super excited to see how that goes. And another upcoming event is a kindness week. So this is an idea that I learned about when I went to the national conference in Oregon last year. And it was actually an idea that Student Council and Friends of Rachel expressed an interest in running. So we decided to join together and make it one big school-wide event and not just run it through Student Council. So the advisors met actually yesterday, a bunch of different club advisors met, and we're all going to be running it together, which I think is an awesome way for us to do a big project as a collaborative kind of project. So Friends of Rachel is going to be spearheading the event, but several clubs have joined in planning the event. GSA, Multicultural Club, Skills USA, NHS and THS, Leo Club, and Student Council will each have one day of the week to plan an activity of their choice. So some ideas that students have come up with is making a paper chain of positive words and stringing it all the way around the school. And the event that Student Council kind of thinks they're going to do is called Kindness Clothespins. So each Student Council member starts off the morning with a clothespin with a positive message like, I love your shoes, you rock, you have a great smile. And they're encouraged to pin it to somebody, whether they say, hey, and they pin it to them, or they just kind of pin it to them and walk away and don't let them know. It's kind of like an anonymous message. And then whoever they pin it to is supposed to pin it to someone else, and it can go between students, staff, the whole school. So we're super excited to get that started. We're still in the planning phase, it's not finalized or anything, but we're really excited for that. So, does anyone have any questions?
I would just like to share something that you didn't share. I want to thank Grace and Colin for representing the Student Council at the annual Christmas in the City event in Boston the week before Christmas. They braved the yucky weather, came into the city and helped serve dinner, wrap gifts, spend the day in Winter Wonderland with 5,000 homeless children, and they did an amazing job, and I would like to say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
How could a club get involved in the kindness week?
If you're interested, you could just talk to our advisors, Ms. Potential and Ms. Can, and we'd love to have you guys run a day. That'd be awesome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nicole has given me the thumbs up to say we're good to go.
Should we?
At Blackstone Valley Technical High School in Upton, they are bullish about the future of blue-collar workers. With millions of baby boomers at or near retirement, they project a real need ahead for young people with skills in all kinds of trades. But, they say, the skill set of tomorrow will rely on brains as much as brawn.
You still need to know how to put a screw into a wall, to hold something on a wall, or turn a wrench and put a spark plug in. However, there's so many diagnostic features that go with today's equipment, it's important that they have advanced skills going into the workforce.
Blackstone Valley Tech offers 18 training programs to more than 1,000 kids from 13 towns. Here you can learn to repair a car with the same computerized tools that auto dealers use, practice driving a backhoe on a state-of-the-art simulator, learn to plumb or wire a house under the guidance of a master tradesman, and much, much more.
We take our marching orders from the employers of our graduates, but we also interact regularly with the professional advisory committees, which represent the various trades, and are constantly making recommendations to us of the skills that are needed for today.
This is hands-on learning, with courses designed to help students earn industry certifications that jumpstart them into higher pay. Upton residents get a good deal as well. they can have their cars repaired here for dirt cheap.
We have a co-op program here, and the students can spend part of their junior year and their entire senior year out in the workforce. Out there, they gain, of course, the skills, but also a paycheck. We also have projects that we do throughout the valley. Right now, we're renovating a town hall from Millville.
The stereotype of vocational school as a place for those who can't succeed academically is long outdated. Many of these students made a conscious choice to train for the jobs that they expect to be available after graduation.
There's always jobs coming in, and that's a lot of the employers that are coming out here that are talking to us are saying we need more help. That's why they're coming to these vocational schools.
It's very challenging with today's all new technology with the computers and stuff. I like to figure out puzzles. If there's like a car with like a check engine light, I get like a big puzzle here to figure out, and I actually get to help a person out too.
The number of females entering the building trades is growing rapidly. Angela Virgilis is training to be a master electrician.
I'm just a very hands-on person. I'm a very visual person. I can't just read something and comprehend it. I'm more of a visual person, more of a hands-on person, so I kind of get to shine here. I get to kind of show my passion for it.
And that is Chronicle for tonight. To celebrate Chronicle's 35th birthday, though,
We have received no fewer than 25 communications from colleagues across New England, and they continue to come in relative to their reactions, if you will, and compliments relative to the show.
Thank you very much for that. Next
Point out that Anthony Steele also interviewed, but for some reason
He got caught.
I think the camera couldn't. I think the camera couldn't capture those bulging shoulders. We have to use that again.
It was only a 30-minute.
It was only
segment.
an hour segment.
Yeah. And we might still be in Millville next year too.
Yeah, I'm hungry. Well, I know there's a project on Sutton.
There's another project, I know, gotta be.
Curtis.
Now I know you do cars for cheap.
Yeah.
Not the cheap, dirt cheap.
Dirt cheap.
Dirt cheap.
Yeah. Smoke, I just up and down.
All right, so the first item on the list, 7.1, the E&D certification came in from the Department of Revenue, and it came in at $719,527. We, as you know, are allowed to be up to 5% of the budget, and we are definitely up underneath that. But we could have had a maximum of $1,097,837. So with that said, I don't know if anybody has any specific questions. We usually just present this as a matter of fact to the committee, so we understand how we settled for the prior year.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Curtis, thank you for your work in the that of the treasurer in preparing this document, which is reviewed by the Department of Revenue and that is provided to us. I know the previous two meetings we talked about, we were awaiting the determination by the Department of Revenue. We now have it in hand, and it's a critical part of the way in which we balance our funding and advance the system without tax impact.
Move on to the next item, 7.2. There is no line item transfer request at the meeting, so we'll move on to line item 7.3, which is a grant status update. Just a couple of notes. We did hear back from the Mass Life Science grant. There were 105 applications for that, and only 49 of the 105 were approved. We were not one of them. Dr. Fitzpatrick asked if I could reach out to the state and get some information on the criteria and how the various applications were rated to get some feedback. So I'm in the process of getting that from the representative over the grant. He hasn't phoned me back yet, so I can't give you any feedback, but as soon as we find out, we'll get that back to you. We've put in for the second leg of the project Lead the Way. We were just notified yesterday that we can move forward with phase 2. That's the minimum for the grant is 35, but they will go as high as 50,000, and it can be a multi-year up to 3-year grant. We anticipate that it will probably only be 1 year, but we might extend it into 2. But we still have to get through that second phase and be approved, and we do think it looks good. We've also submitted for 2 other school nutrition grants, one in the amount of $29,156 for a mini rotating rack oven and a thermalizer for $10,668. This was open to the first 50 applicants under both of these pieces of equipment, and we did meet that standard, but we'll be in competition with other schools, probably from some very poor districts throughout the United States that we'll have to contend with. So we hope we get it, but there are no guarantees. Dr. Fitzpatrick, did you bring the fuel up to play? Ah, there it is. So we were just awarded that grant under Fuel Up to Play 60, and we're going to be getting a breakfast cart for an oatmeal bar, and then we also got a Wii, an Xbox Connect for Martha Pellegrino that she's going to use in conjunction with the students who are maybe not prone to the phys ed department, who have issues that lend themselves to a lower impact exercise. So we're really excited about that. But got our photograph taken. Dr. Fitzpatrick requested a paper copy of the check, as you can see. So that just gives you an update of where we stand. $1,358,000 that we've applied for, and with the exception of the Mass Life Science, we're still at least in contention for the remaining dollars. We hope to hear back, by the way, on the Math Skills Capital Grant. That's $500,000 by February the 10th. And that's the deadline. Hopefully we'll hear something sooner. Any questions on the grants?
Curtis, where are we relative to where we've been in previous years? Are we ahead or behind relative to last year?
We're actually ahead, but with that...
Not in submittals, but in actual awards?
Correct, and that's assuming we get these, I should say. So we're the ones that are still hanging out there, the $500,000. If we get it, yes. If we don't, we're going to be below. But that grant was worth $400,000 in the prior year. And what makes this one so unique? It's highly competitive. In the grant application process, they ask you whether or not you receive Mass Life Science grants, which we have in the past 3 years, and whether or not we were awarded a prior year grant under the Mass Skills Capital. We don't think that boded very well for us for the Mass Life Science this year because we received it in the 3 prior years and it was so competitive, so that's probably a factor. And it will likely be a factor in the Mass Skills. Doc's been petitioning through his legislative contacts and representatives to continue to push for the school to get it, and we're hopeful that that will be successful, as well as the quality of the grant application, because it is a rating system. We went for all the bonus points, so that will result in a favorable grant to the district.
You?
Any other questions?
No, other than to express appreciation to Curtis. I know this is in a transition as far as role and responsibilities, and impacted multiple individuals, part of our team. Personally, I think given the availability of funds, this is an excellent snapshot and very encouraging. And we continue, and I encourage the school committee members, anyone else, to let us know of additional sources that we might pursue that are consistent with our mission. We'll be glad to do that. Donations come in multiple forms, from steel stock to golf carts. Okay, and we have the ability to rehab, and we're glad to do that. Add to the resources.
And we've got, I think, 3 other vocational grants that I'm working on right now that are due over the next 2 to 3 months, varying time frames. So, we'll just keep applying. Speaking of golf carts, we do have a donation from the Upton Men's Club. And Jim, you wanted to say a few words?
No, this is a, thank you, Curtis. If I could just say, this is a golf cart that the Upton Men's Club donated to Nipmunk across the street about 10 years ago, I believe. And they were unable to make the necessary repairs on it, so it was just sitting there. So the Upton Men's Club reached out to me and said, would you be interested in having another golf cart here? I said, absolutely. So they literally drove it over here, and there's really nothing wrong other than we just need to put some tires on it, and we're going to make it our own special unique golf cart, you know, sending it to auto body and stuff like that, but it's a gas-powered Yamaha golf cart that once we make it, like a better word, roadworthy, then we're gonna give it to the sports program and let them use it primarily because it has a seat on the back that can actually transfer to a platform.
Does
So
it cut
we-
grass at all?
No.
But you guys have looked at it to know that it's
It's
not.
actually sitting in our garage at the moment.
I know, we haven't taken full.
Exactly,
But it has been
it's-
inspected to make sure that it's not.
Absolutely.
So far, all right.
Absolutely. No, it's in great working order.
I was gonna say, you said that, you know, the repairs couldn't be made and then it was driven across the street, so.
We actually drove around here and
All right.
quote my groundskeeper, it runs better than the other one we have, and it's gas powered, so just gonna make it our own.
Nope. Just wanted to make sure it wasn't gonna cost us more in work than.
Nope.
No.
How are
Any
your
other-
tires?
They're good.
They won't fit your car already.
Yeah, I'll take anything at this point.
Any other questions with regard to the donation? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion. Second.
Motion made by Mr. Finn, second by Mr. Bartlett, to accept the 1996 Yamaha gas-powered golf cart. Any other questions, comments, discussions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. It is now accepted. You can sign the letter.
Thank you.
All right, so the next item is the bid award for the transportation. In your packet, you've probably got 3 sheets, 2 or 3 sheets. Whoever's got the motion definitely has 3. So we had, as you can see from the results, we had 19 vendors request and were issued bid specifications. And we had 1 bid that came back, and it was our current vendor. The bid was a bit high. In year 1, the increase was 14.6%. So Rich and I met. He helped me with the specs this year, and we worked collaboratively to try to identify vendors to make the competitive process a little more fruitful for the district. Unfortunately, that didn't necessarily pan out. We thought we were going to get a number of bids, especially McCarty, who used to provide the transportation through Atlantic Express. And we ultimately determined for him it was going to be too far to travel, and in order to do the business out here, you'd have to set up a new bus yard. So we basically was very honest with Vendetti and said that this was far outside the scope of our budget. We certainly understood that when they took this contract over after a year and a half with our prior bus vendor, that they did so from their profit and loss perspective at a much lower rate. The last 2 years of the contract, because this was tied to cost of living, that was a 0% raise for them as well. And as you can imagine, with ACA, new sick laws coming in, and wage increases alone, they were actually losing money. And that's part of the downside sometimes of having a COLE attached to your contract. It just depends on what's happening in the market. So given the fact that we knew we were going to get a high bid from them, we were hoping the competition would push it down, but obviously the competition was not there. So we asked them to go back to the drawing board, and they did revise their bid for the 5 years. And I've kind of given you from a year 1 perspective, because it's so much data to put across for 5 years. The savings that were realized as a result of their revised pricing. And in year 1, they came down $116,000, and I believe the increase was 8.13% over the current year, which was much more palatable to the district. And then as this flowed through the remaining years of the contract, which is 5 years, you'll see that off of their original bid, I've recapped the total savings. You know, in year 2, it's $125,000, year 3, $107,000, year 4, $108,000, and year 5, $134,000 for a total savings off their own original bid of $621,775. We did additional market research with all of the bids that were going on in our area, plus bids throughout the state. The increases that we were seeing seem relatively in line with other bids. And we decided to move forward with a recommendation to the school committee to accept the revised proposal from Vendetti. Another bit of good news, I think, was they also had pricing in there for cameras. It was at $2.25 a camera per bus, or I should say $2.25 a day per bus. It gives you 3 cameras. They wound up working through a vendor and getting access to a number of new cameras, and they were able to bring that price down to $1.90 with them installing it. So it's $1.90 a day per bus for the 3 cameras in each bus, for a grand total of around $9,250 a year. I had a conversation with Dr. Fitzpatrick and Mr. Steele to determine whether or not they'd be favorable for the inputting of the cameras on the buses, and they were favorable towards it. And then I checked with Matt and Eddie, who also coordinate the transportation on a day-to-day basis, and they were also favorable. So we decided to move forward with that, and we'll get those cameras for free through the end of the year, and then we'll get charged for that as part of the contract in the coming year. That is subject to Chapter 71 reimbursement, which is good news. So I just wanted to add that piece of information to what you're looking at, and ask you if you, number one, got any additional questions, and whether or not you wanted to get a motion on the table.
Compliments again for the additional work here. There was an aggressive effort to provide multiple vendors with an opportunity to bid. It brought the traditional single bid, which most school systems experience across the Commonwealth. But the willingness to go back to negotiate, sensitivity to the increases is very much appreciated and noted. For the benefit of the school committee, can you tell them what year 1 is?
What the price is?
No. What year is it? When does that year begin?
July 1, 2017.
So we're talking about the FY18 being
That's
year
correct.
1 for the benefit of the committee.
Just a question. I noticed in all these that there is a revised year 1 bid, and a decrease, for instance, the 87, 2,800, 9,000. Yet I noticed on the athletic field trips, it was 105 on the original bid, and it was 105 on the revised bid. Why was it revised on the other bids, but not revised on the athletic field trip bus bid?
They took nothing off on that.
If you look at the other ones, they took off a percentage of it. 87,000 off of 1,000,005, 2,800 off 27 grand, 9,000 off 70,000, yet 105 stuck at 105.
Well,
Just curious as to why that was treated differently, that's all.
Well, I do know the way we revised the entire bid, we put in minimum trips that's subject to a flat charge of $300. And the reason why is they try to spread those smaller trips out that can cost more money over all of the transportation. It drove the cost of the bus up. They were already functioning under Atlantic Express at a much lower rate. So this wasn't touched, and I think it's because we revised the entire section where we didn't treat it the same way we did in the prior years. I don't know why they didn't touch it, but I do know we had already dealt with this on the front end and changed the way we provided the transportation. Much like if you look up the athletic late buses, that was a much higher number, but we had moved from 3 buses to 4 buses, and that drove the rate down because it threw the buses on the road for another half an hour using only 3, so we were short a bus. So by mirroring the transportation for the regular late, we were able to actually get at a lower cost with an additional bus. Sometimes that's hard to get your mind wrapped around. Just it's like how does that
Whatever
work?
you said, I agree with
But
I was just curious why one of them was not touched, that's all, right?
Yeah.
For cost comparison purposes, Anthony, what's the standard cost of a field trip bus? It seems to be in this range or a little higher.
Yeah, and it's something that also has dramatically risen over the last few years, but No, I'd go close to like 450 for example, a trip to Boston or something like that.
Yeah.
They also want to know with wait time,
Yeah.
how long they're going to be waiting.
All I'm saying is the cost of doing business from what we're experiencing in, the only other one I can think of would be field trips.
But see,
And they would
the
be-
old model was you had a cost per bus, then you had wait time, and then you had the miles. That has been taken away. We are just dealing with driver wait time, miles, and then if it doesn't hit that minimum, the minimum is charged. If it goes over the minimum, then you pick up that cost.
It removes the variable.
Right. Another factor in this too was a performance bond. That was costing $16,572. And then there was another feature in this, and you see that was a flat removal. The original bid specs call for underinsured and uninsured motorists at $500,000 and $1 million. The normal minimums are 2040, and there was from even the insurance agents, they found it kind of incredible that we were asking for that level of insurance. There are many reasons why we did ask for it, because of the nature of some of the accidents we're seeing, and also when you're dealing with a bus full of kids, if someone hits us, if the bus driver's injured, they would go into workers' comp. If any of the kids are, now you're talking about a number of kids on those buses, which can, be 50 kids. So that's where it starts increasing the cost. And if they can ever tag the bus company for any fault, no matter how small, they'll come after you. So we just wanted to make sure, and they'll try to attach to the district as well. That's why we want them to have some high levels of insurance. After we went through the process and tried to determine whether or not we could attach this to the umbrella policy, we went that avenue. We got assurance that they could attach to the umbrella. I worked through my insurance agent who said you might want to check that. I'm hearing through my circle that that's not necessarily the case. So I called their insurance agent, and sure enough, it's not subject to the umbrella. But again, we went back with the 2040, and they said they did have up to $10 million to deal with the legal aspects of it. So it would fall up under that portion of the policy. So I worked back with my insurance agent to determine if that was adequate, and he felt comfortable with it. Is it always best to have higher insurance levels? Yes, but it does come at a cost. And it drove the cost up significantly in the initial proposal, which is not a single line item here. It's just embedded across all the costs because they have to recover those. So that's how we got here. It was a pretty lengthy process. It started back in November, and we had the bid opening on January the 9th, and then went through several iterations of meetings with Vendetti Bus and back and forth with other vendors to determine whether or not these costs were in line. And our information indicated that it definitely wasn't.
If I may, one other question. Is it typical in the business to have a 5-year contract, 3-year contract, 2-year contract, 10-year contract? What's the typical time span of a contract?
I guess I'd say under Mass General Law, you can go up to 3 years, and you can go up to 5, only with school committee approval. The way that is normally done, though, is you do 3 years with 2 optional years. And the criteria would be when you get into an option year, you then have to determine whether or not that pricing is actually lower. If it's not, and rates are actually, or excuse me, whether the rates are still low. If rates had dropped for some reason, you'd be required to go out to bid. So you have to prove that that is actually a better price.
What's on the market?
Right.
At that time, 3 years. So is the other school systems, are they looking at going with the 3-year and a roll, or are they looking for a 5-year fix?
Well, a lot do the 5-year because you can get better pricing across the 5-year, especially when they're investing in capital. They want to ensure that they can recover that over the 5-year period. So that always helps. It does drive the cost up when you do a shorter period of time. But the whole bus transportation industry is interesting. As you can see, with 19 bids going out and receiving 1, we don't know what happens to the competition.
I guess that's my concern. Last comment. That's just my concern. There appears to be lack of competition this year.
It's every year. If you remember last year, I think we had 7 vendors and 2 returned, and it was somebody who was actually a new player to the market. So I'd say conversations with Rich and even with DESE, and that's Jay Sullivan, we keep pushing this upwards and telling them there's something wrong with the competition factor in the state, and should we be looking more at collaboratives? And when you get into a collaborative, certainly their wages, because they become state employees at that point, and sometimes they drive higher contractual rates from a bargaining perspective, but they're not for profit. So in that regard, you've seen increases that might be anywhere from 1.5% to 2 or 2.5% from collaboratives. Other people have been upwards. I mean, some have gotten higher increases than 8%, and then some have extended contracts for a 2-year period, and they're kind of switching some of the components up to come down on regular transportation and get a higher bump on some of the supplemental transportation. So it's until we get that message across to the state that we need more of the collaboratives in play, and I maybe get the message down to regular bus providers that they need to be more conscientious about their profit margins, maybe. I don't know if we're ever going to see any relief. But you do have to think about some of the charges that have come in with the new sick leave, with ACA. I mean, that's added quite a bit to them, and some of the other mandates that are coming down. It's driven up the cost. Plus, they were behind from the original takeover of the contract because they were at a lower rate when they took it over. But they did so with the hope that they would come back and win the business in a future year, because Vendetti had it years ago. I wasn't here, but do y'all remember when they had it?
Yep.
So, and then somebody came in the low bid, and we have to follow.
One last question, if I may. So, just to Reader's Digest, if you would. If we looked at a net cost per mile per student, and we compared ourselves to our other 13 towns, would our net cost per mile per student be within the same amount as what other bus companies are charging within other towns?
Yes, it would be.
Okay.
I've got a listing of some of the costs here. And we were sitting just over $299, and we're coming in at $324. Some of the prices we've seen for 18 is $419, $402, $347.
So you have a listing there of other towns within the area?
Yes, I've got some of the regionals. I'm trying to, Blackstone Millville's in here.
Would you be willing to share that with me if you would?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, after the meeting.
And that just depends, if these are across the state, whether or not they were up for bid this year.
I understand.
So.
I understand. I'm just trying to get a comparison when people want to know what it is per mile.
And then when you get per student, that gets a little shady because the law reads 75% capacity, and you've got so many seats on the bus, but that's pared down for adult riders from elementary. So the bus capacity.
You do not have to have an open seat for each student, correct?
You do not have to have an open seat for each student.
Thank you.
No.
I was going to say, plus that analysis changes depending on what districts are doing, like the municipal districts are for, if they have bus fees.
Oh, right.
So they may not have buses because kids have opted out, or they're not paying because they're not required to provide busing for that particular student.
What would you say, last question, I promise. What would you say, just rough off the top of your head, as a percentage of the total budget, of the expense budget we have, what would the bus contract be? 5%, 10%, 1%, 30%, just roughly?
You know what? I'm just a little bit tired right now. My math skills aren't working in my head.
That was the fourth to last question. You're doing that.
I might not be done yet. 1.25. Got a lot of coffee. 1.25.
I'm making a motion to award the contract.
Have you got
I second that motion.
I've got a motion made and a second on the floor
And a 1.25.
to approve, item 7.5, to approve the bus transportation bid to Vendetti.
And he has to ask.
Any other questions, comments, discussion?
Sorry.
No,
Sorry.
I mean, the only comment I wanna make is we greatly appreciate Vendetti's, have been a very good partner, they took this over at a difficult
Yeah.
time, and we greatly appreciate that they went back to the drawing board to try and help compress those costs a little bit more, so it is greatly appreciated for their partnership in this. See,
So, there's a motion on the.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries, Vendetti gets the.
How about
the bid.
abstain?
I'm sorry?
How about abstain?
Any abstentions?
I'm gonna abstain.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let that record reflect that it was, motion carries with the one abstention.
People think like that, don't they?
Alright. Next on the agenda, Mr. Steele.
Thank you, Chair. Promise not to use all the time I saved you from not being in the Chronicle video.
Well, you got 3 minutes, so.
Okay, well.
The Chronicle
on
only
that
had so
note-
much time in.
On that note, just due to a miscommunication, we don't actually have a hard copy of 8.1, which is the proposed 2017-18 school calendar. That calendar may be emailed to us and we can put it up on the projector by meeting's end. So I ask that we defer that with the possibility that we are able to get a copy.
We'll table that item for possible resolution before the end of the night.
Item 8.2 is our New England Association of Schools and Colleges. Our 5-year focus visit is coming up this spring. The actual visit itself is March 13th through the 15th, the 3-day on-site visit. Typically, a 5-year visit of this type would be a visiting team of about 3 to 5 individuals. This team will be led by Gilda Puccio. She's a Connecticut resident, Connecticut educator. We have been in touch with her, and she'll actually be out here in about a month's time to visit with us on campus. So it's tradition that the chair, in this case Ms. Puccio, will be coming out, going to do a pre-visit site check with us, talk about what she's going to see, what she would like to see, etc. We'll have her out for lunch. And then the full team will come in the March 13th to 15th. As far as the preparations go, the faculty has already worked, well, the entire staff, I should say, because it goes into support all aspects of the school, but we've worked through the 10-year accreditation as well as the 2-year follow-up on all recommendations. We've gone through and addressed all of those, reassessed with the 5-year accreditation documentation. All of that's been prepared. The steering committee has met several times as a whole to look at all 13 standards within the accreditation process. And essentially from that standpoint, we're prepared. The work that remains is more of a report out type activity that members of each department and people who work on specific committees and teams on the standards within the NEASC will come together on February 8th. It's an in-service day for us, half day in service. And we will familiarize one another with the report and the progress in its entirety. And again, that's in ample time for the site visit itself on March 13th through 15th. So we've been working on it for about a year. We feel like we're in good shape for it. And welcome Gilda Puccio and her team, and expect that she'll also be impressed. Questions on the NEASC 5-year? Okay. The next item is 8.3. It's the practical nursing graduation report. It was just last night in the competition center. We had another 24 graduates. It was very nice to see Senator Michael Moore joined us as well. Kevin Burrows was here representing his districts. Dave Moradian, and we did get regrets from Joe McKenna. He simply had the wrong evening, from what I understand, and he wished to be here as well. But one of the highlights of the evening, aside from the 24 new practical nursing graduates was that we did also have veterans, not only as parents and in the audience, but also graduating. And Francisco Urena, who is the State Secretary of Veteran Services, joined us last night. So he was there to congratulate the veteran graduating from the program. And we also had a nice coming together, if you will, with not only Mr. Urena, but also some of the veterans who were there in observance of the ceremony. It was a nice addition to that event. Certainly a big congratulations to Program Director Joanne Monks and the entire faculty within the Practical Nursing Program. It's quite a significant achievement. They have 2 classes now. In case you're unaware or have forgotten, they have both an underclassman and an upperclassman. They're on that 16-month cycle, if you will. So it's essentially a very significant night for them in advancing all of those folks onto a great new career opportunity. Michael also spoke at the ceremony and filled them in, Doc, on all of our significant visitors and the ceremony itself. I didn't know if you wanted to say anything about the practical nursing graduation itself.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'd like to add the fact that we subsequently received a communication from Representative Joe McKenna, and that he extends his apologies. He had anticipated that he would be present, but his State House calendar disrupted that. And he has congratulatory citations for any of the constituents that he covers, and he's inquired relative to the best way to get them to him. And so we will certainly coordinate with Representative McKenna to do that. And I previously mentioned the other individuals or dignitaries who were present, other than us. Yeah.
Any questions on the practical nursing graduation report? Seeing none, we'll move on to the out-of-state field trip. In your packet, you do have a gray document for 8.4. It is a request for the ski team, ski club, to go to Moon Mountain on March 4th as part of their normal club activities.
Make the motion.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Lavin, second by Ms. Mitchell to approve the ski trip on March 4th. Questions, comments, discussion? Seeing none, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Okay, and Mr. Chairman, if I receive that document on the calendar, either electronically or Mr. Nico may drive over and make some copies for it, I will ask that we introduce it perhaps later in the agenda.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, Budget Subcommittee report.
Yes, the Budget Subcommittee room. Okay. As you can see, we've already gone through the series of 3,000, 4,000, 7,000, and the district-wide technology. We've the committee's asked, really good questions this year, and we've sent back, and we've gotten some pretty good answers. But it's the first time around, so we're waiting to see what more can be done to, cut places we need to cut at this time. Jerry, if you want to fill in.
No, I think that pretty much wraps it up.
That's about it where we are, right?
Yep, indeed.
That's about all. You know more from the state perspective, what's
I
we do.
trust that people are aware that following the State of the State address on Tuesday, I believe, the governor released his numbers on yesterday, Wednesday, which included a modest increase for education. The governor's plan is built upon a projection of a 3.9% increase in the state's revenues, all things considered, a number of strategies relative to shifting health insurance and other changes. The absolute minimum obligation, which is a key component driven outside of us, those numbers have come in. They have increased by just under $400,000 across, and they're not evenly distributed across the towns. towns of Mendon and Upton have significant changes in their enrollment, and they have significant changes in the absolute minimum contribution level determined by the state. We don't know all the factors that drove that, but we will continue to probe. The towns, of course, the town managers download this information. They will see that, but that didn't come from us, right? So we'll see how that. We've interacted with many towns. There are some certain finance committee meetings that have been agreed. There are town administrators who have contacted us. Anyone who does, I think of, we've heard from Uxbridge, Millbury, Grafton, Bellingham, Douglas, Sutton, Blackstone. I believe that's it at the moment. Okay. We haven't.
Might be easy. Might be an easier one.
Yeah, okay, Hopedale, and actually Milford in a way, they want to set up a working lunch as they did last time. We're building the budget, as you've referenced, through our public interactions. The total number of Chapter 70 new dollars approximates to about $50,000. Okay, there's some pass-through money. So you're looking at, $400,000 from increased absolute minimum from obligations, and $50,000 from new Chapter 70 and 71 revenue. Increase in Chapter 71 in transportation of about $18,000 in the governor's numbers. The rep and senator who were here last night indicated that they were doing everything they could to increase the education dollars over and above what the governor has identified. We generally build our budget based on the governor's numbers. More than likely, we will recommend that to the budget subcommittee. Curtis does hope to share with committee members some of the documents that were just downloaded relative to those minimum contributions, and ran back to the office to do that. Are there any other questions? It's a work in progress. We have received messages of appreciation from the town managers or others, the liaisons from the finance committees, who have asked for best guess or projection or status report. We know these people, they know us, we have relationships that have been established, and we're glad to work with them, honored to work with them. So,
No, it's about it. Is anybody else? Okay. That wraps that up.
Moving on, Dr. Fitzpatrick.
First item 10.1, I believe, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Okay, we have received a gift, which the gifter wishes to remain anonymous, but it's a specific gift to the district in the memory of Laurie Lavin, $500. So I'd like to make the committee aware of that and still recognize the discreetness in which the gifter preferred. There is a document that gives people, item 10.2 is an admission status report which highlights almost each of the activities in the calendar of admission, and the fact that applications are for the next cycle of students are due by Friday, February 3rd. And so if you have a question, this has been well promoted, but if any constituent were to ask you, and alert them of that. We do our best to work cohesively and cooperatively with the different settings. Valley Tech has a reputation for not entering into choice arrangements or out of district. It is nice to have the money, but we've always declined that because we're focused on serving the students of the district and have tried and succeeded in making the school system, with your help, appealing to students and their families to be educated here. So unlike a number of other settings where there are vacant seats to be sold, we generally have lots more people want to come than we can accommodate, so we don't leave seats open for the purpose of getting revenue or vouchers. If you get any questions from anyone, if you please let us know. Also, I'd like to emphasize that where there's a special need consideration, or a parent or others make you aware of an accommodation factor. For example, someone is, sight impaired, hard of hearing, just as examples. And the family has made you aware of that, indicating that they plan on applying. I would suggest you encourage the family to make our admissions people aware, so we can ensure if someone needs to have a sign language or some other accommodation, we want to give anyone a fair, equal chance to be successful in the application process and interview process. And wouldn't want a family to be hesitant to make us aware of the need to respond to a special accommodation situation. But we handle that with dignity and certainly sensitivity, and with the admissions people. But if they're not aware, they're probably not going to have an interpreter present, for example. And so I would suggest we handle it in that manner. Any questions on this? It's a team effort. It's a constant refinement. We comply with the state admission process, and we're delighted to have the students that we have. Any questions? No. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, item 10.3, Clark University conducted, the colleges in Worcester usually alternate hosting the annual Scholars event. Valley Tech had 2 students who were recognized for this distinction, and certainly a very impressive young people. It's delighted to see their photos and a brief comment are captured in the document that we printed. We printed the larger full booklet. Like you can see, Eric Martis, who did join Mr. Steele and myself, and Max, who was also recognized but wasn't able. Typical fashion, they have too many things to do. They can't free themselves up to travel with the principal, assistant superintendent, and superintendent. But these are remarkable young people, and it'll be interesting to watch their advancements in the future. Okay. Any questions on that? All right. Once again, I invite the school committee members in the same manner which I did for grants and donations, that in the event you discover a scholarship opportunity, an award opportunity, a competitive activity that has been brought to your attention by an organization, by a club, by a media outlet, whatever, we would like to encourage those organizations to visit their eligibility criteria to make certain that Valley Tech students who reside in their communities are considered and eligible. That is necessitated occasionally a modification or amendment of the bylaws or constitution of a given organization, but we seldom receive resistance to do that. Usually it's an apology that they hadn't considered that, and now recognize that many of our students, as encouraged by industry, like to pursue their education and while linked with industry. So, any questions on that? Seeing none, moving on. Item 10.4, the Mass Interscholastic Athletic Association has instituted a series of recommended changes. Included in those changes are to move our football team up 2 divisions and to move our golf team up a division 2. We do not agree with either of those changes. We think they're insensitive to the athletic population that we serve, and we've opposed that. And so we will testify and continue to testify and through the appeals process. The football appeals have been heard. We're not alone in this. Many of the other vocational technical schools are experiencing similar catapulting into other divisions, which we believe is not best even for a competitive or a safety factor. The preliminary feedback we have on the football appeals, which are in front of the golf appeals, is very favorable and encouraging. That the people that we know and have met are willing to be sensitive to the request. So, Mr. Chairman, I think Mr. Finn has a question.
Describe, what was the rationale they had to bounce you up 2 different levels? But what was the rationale? Numbers of students, number of, how big you, how did it come about?
Well, in summary, it does sound like participation levels, okay? So that we enjoy, like our application list, high participation levels. And we have said to people, without taking away any of the honor that we have of working with our athletes, that in our case, participation levels are up because students have transitioned from their home environment to a regional setting, to the largest school they ever went, interacted with people from 12 other towns, which they've never done, and that they're encouraged to try a sport for maybe the very first time. And so they don't come with an abundance of basic skills or all-star status as a 6th, 7th, or 8th grader, but they're willing to try the sport. And so, and we encourage that. That drives your numbers up, but not necessarily your talent pool. And so much of our coaching is done to promote basic skill sets. I mean, I'll give you an example from the basketball world. I'm saying that where, you know, in another setting, you could be working on complex full court, half court zone defenses or you know, defensive configurations. In our case, the basketball program will likely be focused on dribbling, passing, very basic skills, because the students and athletes willing to go out for the sport, in some cases for the first time, don't yet have that skill set. So some blossom, but usually, and the other thing is, if you excel at the 8th grade level, you're under incredible pressure not to leave that system. Okay, we've certainly witnessed that even in our own families relative to that. So I don't want to take away any athletic interest and skill sets people come. But we encourage, you know, the moderate or less skilled athlete to join the team, be part of the team, participate, network, use the teaming skills that are important to industry, and learn how to tackle. Okay, but you don't arrive necessarily with some of these skills. That's our experience, and I hope that doesn't take away any of the rewarding and the honor it is to work with the young athletes that are part of the program. So we are saying, numbers don't tell those stories. We want.
So it's participation which drove them to say we're going to bounce you up 2 different levels.
That's the primary criterion that was referenced to us. The other thing is we have very high participation levels in the younger grades, say 9th and 10th, and they generally, they generally don't stay at the high level because the co-op and employment opportunities that happen in the junior senior. And so that is true of many of the VOTEC schools. Also, the VOTEC schools have 50% of the time are spent in the shop affiliation, and so we're kind of promoting that. Not that they're too tired to make tackles, but that, anyway, we're asking for greater, which has always been there, this sensitivity, but has recently disappeared in separate meetings that we weren't present. So, and now being revisited.
I think with these guys, with the students, they're learning a trade as well as learning them regular academic skills. In these other schools, they're learning the academic skills, and they got plenty of time to participate in sports. We're putting that burden on students that they need to be up to snuff for everything. So I don't think they get the amount of time that these other schools will probably have that they can devote their time to football, basketball, whatever. They're spending more time taking care of their academic skills and their, skills that we're teaching them, as a vocational school.
That is the view of many vocational technical educators and many employers, and I wouldn't disagree with that. Our position has been, we complement the athletic success that any student has in their high school experience, and we applaud it. But the MIAA has previously been sensitive to the curriculum, okay, and to the direction availability of the student. All right, so, and I'll give you an irony. This letter was sent to one of the assistant directors in the MIAA, a young man by the name of James Peters. His father was Arthur Peters, the former director of Westfield Vocational High School, which is the reason I got into vocational technical education.
There you
Talk
go.
about something coming back. I reminded in a Post-it note to Jim Peters that his father got me in this business. His father sensitized me into the unique factors and the willingness to work and the pleasures working with vocational technical students. I received a very personal note relative to that reference to the son of the gentleman who got me in this business in 1971. So, okay.
Did you spell oops correctly?
Sure.
That's the guy we're gonna punch in the nose?
So we're making progress, okay? And the athletic director, principal are key players in our appeals and presentations, and we're delighted to. We're always glad to try to advance the students. Any questions? Yes,
Will this be monitored as far as the football program is concerned? As we move up 2 divisions, we end up in the cellar of the division every year. I mean, would they be open to the case where we would drop a division?
The concern about...
I know we'll be competitive, but, you know, such a thing as getting blown out every game too.
It's fairness, and competitive. What kind of victory, you know, when you slaughter an opponent that you're heavily favored?
Right.
I don't see, I mean, we were rather play the toughest rather than the weakest.
Right.
Okay. I can tell you that some of our colleagues in the vocational schools have indicated if MIA is not sensitive to this, okay, they're gonna walk out of the whole activity. We're trying to avoid that. We would rather work through the legislative process and the negotiation process and ask for the sensitivities, which have always been there. We don't know how they disappeared this time. We want to bring it back before that happens.
I just want to protect the program.
Well, no, plus if you...
We've come such a long way.
Well, not just that, I mean, you were talking about the blow-up and competitive nature, you also have the health factor of the kids that are getting run over by programs.
Many things happen.
Right.
So.
But when I comment about the numbers being higher because individuals who either didn't have a great deal of success or didn't even participate are part of the applicants or the tryouts, all right? Why would they try out to be murdered, to be killed? I say it works against what we're trying to instill. And say, no, give it another chance. I know maybe it didn't work for whatever reason, you know, you're a little bigger now, you're a little older, and, you know, so, I mean, the superintendent at Greater New Bedford said he's delighted. He has a number of Portuguese youngsters who are willing to play soccer for the very first time, okay? And he's being told that he would have to compete against programs that he would have no chance at all. And he said, you know, it's funny. He said, I can't do that to my Portuguese population that we encourage to, you know, stop eating linguiça, get out on the field. Whatever. That was just his phraseology. Okay, but you can see this. It has a positive image. It's not wins and losses. It's fairness. It's competitive. It's supposed to help kids. It's supposed to be about kids, not you know, slaughtering heavenly favored, you know, to an opponent. Okay, so.
Well, I think there's another aspect too, as far as the admissions process we talked about with, and then the kids having an opportunity to, in their freshman year, bond with other classmates and be successful within the school and have that relationship building process. So if that starts to take away, it will start to trickle down and say students won't go out to the teams because they don't want to get slaughtered.
Yeah.
So that aspect too.
I can also tell you that Valley Tech, I credit the athletic director and certainly the principal and the advisors and the coaches have had strong success against other vocational technical schools. Fair competitive situation. And even though in many cases the vocational school is larger than we are, we're the smallest of the large voc schools in that division, okay? And you know, that type of competition seems to be reasonable, but when you get outside of that, well, certainly if you get thrown up multiple divisions, it's just a question of fairness and protecting kids. And so we're asking for that, and we hope it's successful. We should be successful.
Mike, just one, years ago, there used to be a higher percentage of male to female relationships in the schools here. Now the thing is swung the opposite way, correct?
Yeah, it's another thing.
So it would almost seem like, well, why are you making this change now when the thing is swung basically back the opposite way? I can't quite wrap my mind around what they are gaining out of doing this.
That's my...
Doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense to me. I can't figure it out. I'm trying to figure out where they're coming from. What, do they want some more wins in the scorecard or what? I mean, what is it they're looking for? You know?
The recommendation and decision, it's quite clear, was made by people who are not vocational technical educators, not affiliated with the VOTEX. Okay, so they didn't bring that sensitive. Okay? So, any victory is a victory.
I mean, not to mention, some of our participation is driven by encouragement to stay on teams and not experience cuts and come to practice every day, even though you may not be at the next game. And just
That's what we do. We're nurturing that.
yeah, no, I mean that's part of that participation. I mean the numbers.
And they're advocating we go up 2 levels?
In football, yes, 1 level from Division 3 to Division 2 in golf. With our, you know, again,
One might, 2.
It doesn't work logically.
No.
Or even in a fair
I
comparison.
can't understand it.
Well, keep us apprised of how that
Yeah.
plays out.
Yep, glad to
for
do
the
it.
kids.
We'll get the pitchforks and go to France.
Yeah, we're working on it. So.
Yeah, it's 33 Forge Parkway.
Take care. You know well where that is,
I know
right?
exactly, I pass through all the time. I know it well.
I got tired.
Anything else, Don? From that part.
No, not for that item. No.
All right, next item on the agenda, facilities. John.
Yes, okay, the facilities subcommittee met on 1/18, and we basically worked on the sign project for the front of the building. And we basically, the committee agreed based on the conceptual drawing, you know, color, design, and all that. We're waiting now to have some plans drawn up, and we've gone different directions, trying to figure out where it's gonna be located in front of the building per, you know, the town's request. And once we get some more information, we will bring it forward. Once we get the drawings up, I'll present everything to the full school committee to look at what we've drawn up, what we've got done. Basically, that's what we've been really working on right now. Any follow-up, guys?
No, again, we have a conceptual drawing done. I'm working with Tom Lamont, I call him, master sign consultant, working with him on, taking the conceptual view and putting it on paper as far as shop drawings and, what the makeup of the sign's gonna be, what's gonna be made up and how it's gonna be constructed. I'm also working with the drafting student who did the conceptual to try to actually plan on placing it, where it's going to be placed in front of the school conceptually. So we're still working on fine-tuning the front side, but we'll be bringing something forward to the committee very soon.
Yeah. And our full idea is to try to have the school do as much as possible on this sign. So it'd be a learning experience for everybody in the building, from all the shops, departments.
What, you said concept, what concept are we working on and what's the purpose of the sign?
It's the
Is it
sign.
to inform people who go by, is it to?
It's going to be the sign that's going to be at the front of the school to
Yep.
identify us as, Blackstone Valley Tech with a certain uniqueness of design, and it's going to have a message board, within the sign itself.
It will have a message board.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you think about like doing a banner first about the same size, where it would actually sit? Just to try to get it.
We were talking about making it, again, in discussions, we were talking about doing a template to identify the correct
Size of
sign.
it, yeah.
Yeah, just to kind of put it out there.
Then try to do a mock-up, yes, absolutely.
That would be great.
Yeah, and again, working with Tom on that, we're gonna, come up with sizes and, make sure we cross the T's and dot the I's and then present the whole package to the committee.
What?
Any input?
Well, I was against having any type of a template put out there because of it being a temporarily put out there as a temporary sign. I mean, you got weather conditions, you got all kinds of stuff. We had a sign on the trash property that, was here for quite a while. And I just think we should just move forward to the permanent sign, have the committee see the pictures of what we come up with, and vote on it, and push it forward, because the more we do, as far as temporary stuff, the more it slows down the project,
Excuse me,
as far as
Joe,
I'm concerned.
are you talking a temporary, or
No,
are you just
he's
talking
I'm talking about
a
something
cardboard box type thing?
Yeah,
to see
just a
where it's
sheet
gonna-
on
Just put it out there, you
That's what I
take a
thought.
couple of pictures, and you take it down so you get a concept of what
It's just
looks
a- it's
like.
where it's gonna.
It's like a
Yeah,
mock-up,
just,
that's
yeah,
all it's gonna
yeah,
be.
just
It's not gonna be there
Yeah,
for
I
a
wouldn't
month.
put anything up there. It's
No,
gonna be in the-
no,
Just be a size model.
Okay, I just thought there was a disconnect.
Yeah, there
there.
was a little.
Yeah,
Just to make sure the scale's proper.
Yeah, just like a cardboard box, so we can look at it from up the road, then take it down.
And I hear what you're saying, Artie, we don't wanna be stuck in neutral. We wanna actually-
Yes,
I agree
we're
with
moving
that.
forward.
Moving forward.
That wasn't what I was saying.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's a miscommunication, I thought. I heard them say that. All right.
Anything else?
No, I'm all set now.
Any questions for facility? Facility subcommittee report, sorry, not Jimmy.
I do have the calendar for 8.1 if you want to go back to that.
Please.
Actually, now is the perfect time to do that before we jump into new business. We will pull that item off the table and bring it forward. As you're passing it out, anything unusual, unique?
No, one thing that's unusual or different this year is that we tried a newer format that we thought was a little easier to read.
Read, hold on.
Well,
If you have good eyes.
if you have good eyes,
Good eyes.
you can borrow somebody's glasses next to you.
Or a magnifying.
If you recall in years past, all the dates ran down the center of the document. As far as the pattern goes, this still fits our contractual obligation with the association as well as our promise to our taxpayers. It's 195 contact days with staff, 193 contact days with students. The calendar still follows the traditional pattern of school vacation weeks and the observances of holidays, Thanksgiving, and so forth that we're accustomed to. And you see that it ends, well, let me start at the beginning. School year begins August 16th with the traditional two in-service days. Of course, the freshman cookout and freshman orientation that first week. And brings us all the way through. 195 puts us down at June 18th. And that is, of course, with no snow days.
I was gonna say, somebody looking at this might get a little scary when you put in the entire rest of the year as snow days.
That's what we usually do. This calendar actually is very close to this current year. The week off for the holiday break is similar to this year's situation, and I believe we're June 19th this year.
Mr. Chairman, I point out that actually it was the Commissioner of Education who recommended school systems built in this type of block for snow days, following the year where there were 9 ice days, okay? And there were multiple requests of the Commissioner to forgive the 180-day rule, all of which he denied. And so he recommended that the school system do this.
What was it say? That was
Before the climate warned.
What was it say? That was the year people got a little scared because they were pushing that 28, 29.
We've gone right up to it. You can't go to school July 1.
Nope.
That's a law. And you can't. But what has happened in some of those extreme years, just a couple of years ago, for example, we didn't wind up in this situation, but some of our catchers in many schools across the state did. If you can't make up the snow days by June 30th, then you have to start looking at options of either coming to school on Saturdays or during some of your vacation weeks and so forth to make up those days. So those would be the 990-hour minimum or the 180-day minimum to make that threshold.
John, you have a question?
Yes, I do not see graduation on there. Is there a reason for that?
No, we haven't typically put it on there. This is just simply our conceptual overview for the year. That takes some negotiating with Hanover Theater, which is usually done a year in advance, and we have it. So we'll be negotiating that as we come up to graduation this coming year. And this is just simply the proposed overview, if you will, for the calendar, the outline for the calendar. We provide you with much more detailed ones as that detail is known.
Are we supposed to vote on the overview?
Yes, you are. I
Any
can
other-
tell you, Mr. Lavin, that we generally are 12 days prior to the end of the school year, and it always puts us usually within the same time frame from a year-to-year basis.
All right, well, I'll make that motion then, to accept as presented.
Motion made by Mr. Levin, second by Ms. Mitchell.
Mr. Bartlett.
Oh, Mr. Bartlett. I just heard it coming from over there.
The other side of the flowers.
I think it was the flowers that threw me off.
From the shrubbery.
Any other questions, comments, discussion?
Actually, I said it.
The rose.
We're all jumping at the chance to second this motion. Any other questions? Seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. And one thing I didn't mention was the flowers are from practical nursing graduation, if you didn't figure that out.
Yeah,
But, okay. Thank you, everybody.
I thought somebody retired.
No. We have another carryover, if you will.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Johnson went down to download the governor's Department of Revenue's calculations.
Oh, yes.
Pass those down your way. First snapshot of that.
You must be really tired now.
Yeah, there was another copy in there that wasn't part of this.
Trying to confuse us, Curtis?
Okay, so we did get the governor's numbers yesterday, and just from a minimum contribution, last year's final allocations for minimums versus the House 1 number, we're picking up an additional $381,759. And it'll give you in here in terms of the student changes as well as the changes in minimum contribution. Just remember, some of these numbers definitely increased disproportionate to the student that you see. And we've seen this before in years where they've gone down a student, but minimum contribution has gone up. Just keep in mind that our minimums are viewed across the 13 towns, and it really has a wealth factor, property values, and really what's needed to support that foundation budget for an individual student. And it really does come down to that ability to pay. So sometimes it might not make sense. You would think maybe if you have a decrease in students, you would see a decrease in your minimum. That's not always the case. You can see it go quite the opposite. And the second sheet that we have for you is basically a look at the cherry sheet numbers. And we've got our FY17 finals, and we're comparing that to our House 1 numbers. You'll notice that from a raw perspective, Chapter 70 went up $67,275. But as you know, while we keep our post-secondary dollars for minimum contribution, we allocate the Chapter 70 portion. You'll see down below that because we have fewer students that are in district, that number actually went down. Therefore, it pushed up the total amount that's coming into the budget because of that reallocation. So we're picking up just under $100,000 in Chapter 70, all right? And then our transportation went up slightly, $18,335. And within this budget, I believe you all have received your October 1 counts. Because Dr. Fitzpatrick was giving these out earlier, I've been on to try to find out our school choice to see if we have any, because I check that every year, and they weren't posted at that time. So they are now out, I believe they came out in December, and we had 4 choice students. All right, and they were from member towns going to Tantascwa. 1 went there and 3 went to Milford because they have vocational programs. That's totaling up to $33,314 for the school choice. That is an automatic reduction off the cherry sheet when they give us our distributions under Chapter 70. There's a $5,000 vocational component that's just meant for the tuition piece. And if applicable, there is an increment for special education. So we've seen some that range from $2,000 up to $7,000. So when you take the the $20,000, the remaining piece was strictly due to the special education increment. Okay. That's where we stand at this point, and we're going to be, planning on the the 99 plus the 18. So, roughly $118,000 in state aid that we're going to be picking up. That will have to be netted down by the $33,314, but we will be picking that up as an expenditure in the operating budget. So it'll be built onto the operational side. And then when we get the distribution in, we'll net that up and record the expenditure. So that's, just wanted to make sure that you understood why there was a change in your original October 1 numbers. It was due to the school choice students for them.
Thank you very much. Do you have anything to add to that?
No, thank you. This is exactly what I wanted the committee to see. It's just like hot off the press. Okay, many of our towns will download this information as well. It's coming from the state, not from us.
Thank you very much. Bringing us full circle back around. Right?
New business.
New business. Does any member of the school committee have any new business to bring forward?
Yes, I have 2 things. First of all, I want to thank everybody for supporting me for 2 years, almost 2 years, with everything going on in my personal life. And on Saturday, we're having a celebration of life. Anybody who wants to attend is welcome to come. Then it's just going to be a party after that, hang out and just enjoy, the people that we all know. So that's basically all that is. And the second one is, I was approached by 2 individuals in the town of Douglas that are graduates. One's graduated in a class of 70, another one graduated in a class of 74. They are in the process of trying to start a alumni association. And if anybody that graduated from the school wants to join the association, I'd like the support of the school committee to see if we can get this off the ground and get it going. These individuals want to give back to the school, and they want to know if they can get some of the alumni, from the years that have graduated to join, and as a group, we can support the school in a different way as an association.
I like the concept. I want a little more information, obviously, in mission,
Right,
that kind of
but
thing.
just to get it started, I just wanted, I don't know how to get it started, but, we can work on that.
At least open the door for them so that we can start to work on it and then bring it back to us with more information. Preferably have those individuals come in and talk to us.
Yes, I'll.
Does they need a vote of support from the school committee to at least let them explore?
Yeah.
Are you looking for a motion?
Yes.
I'll make it.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Motion made by Mr. Finn, second by Ms. Mitchell, and yes, I know it was her this time.
His voice has changed. As he's got a little older.
To support the conception of an all years alumni association about it.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Nice.
Full graduating classes.
Good.
No, not by year. So.
And, and the way the individuals presented to me, to be traceability to graduates that are graduating. That's another entity that, Jerry, that you're always looking for, to see where they are.
So, questions, comments, discussion? Curtis.
Yeah, I believe about maybe 6 or 7 years ago, I got from unclaimed property money that belonged to the alumni. I'm not sure if y'all actually have already voted to approve that. I'll look it up real quick, but I'm pretty sure I'm sitting on that. I shouldn't even be housing it. I set up in an agency fund just because we took possession of it to get it out of the state. So if that, I think I want to say it's like $5,000 to $7,000 maybe, but it's been a while since I've looked at it, so I'll just verify and get back to you, but you might wanna check records and see if that's already been approved, cause somebody's used the name.
No, I mean, that would be something for them
Yeah.
to look into, is that if there is such an organization
Yeah.
already approved, because there's also the possibility that,
It's a booster club.
well, through dormancy, it was dissolved. I mean, so, I mean, these options are all still out there. So, definitely something for them that they will investigate.
Yeah.
You know, you're from the legal side. Any other questions, comments, discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving this alumni association in concept to get off the ground, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Yeah, and so have them get in touch with, Doc, have them
Yeah.
contact Cheryl in your office, get started. And, within a few months, have them come in to kind of flesh out a little bit more, give us a little more information.
So definitely, I'll have them come talk to the school.
Sounds good. All right, thank you very much. Any other new business from the school committee? Dr. Fitzpatrick.
This evening, we're joined by Messrs. Lamont and Lamont, okay? The senior Lamont is distinguished themselves in multiple community service activities relative to recycling and a number of other really meaningful, impressive activities. And we thank them for that, and we'll continue to share some of his ventures and appreciate your participation in those. The younger Mr. Lamont joins us here as an Eagle Scout candidate, I believe working on a merit badge. And so Dad's involved in multiple merit badges. But we certainly welcome you and wish you the best. And this is our elected 13-member school committee in a posted school committee minute. And if you need a copy of the agenda or anything else to submit to Scoutmasters, please let us know. We'll be delighted to provide it. But welcome and thank you. The second item we have is the fact that there was outreach by the Mass Association of Regional Schools and their executive directors, and they've asked our multimedia program to assist in creating a website for them. And so that's another student project that we will add to the many other things that we're doing. So we're delighted to report that on behalf of the multimedia program and the students and the staff.
Thank you very much for that.
And we also shared this, copies of the view book. You may well have noticed that one of the many documents, I think the annual reports recently, this is the new view book, which is intended to assist parents and students in becoming more familiar with the opportunities that are available here. We periodically update that, and this is the newest version. So.
Thank you very much.
These going to be given out to towns? I believe the admissions indicated they gave out like 1,200 of the students that had asked. Okay. But how many of these do we have?
I believe the admissions report that Michelle posted said that they were mailed to area houses.
Yes.
I'm asking
these
about if
questions
they
about
were
the
going to
municipalities.
municipality, in other words, the board of selectmen, chairman of the board, something like that.
Do you have more of these?
We do have more of them. I don't know if they have gone to.
No, they would not have.
They would not.
They would not have. The targeted
Opportunity
would
to get some extra.
let us know what you need, we'll get them to you.
I was gonna say, this is different than the annual report that we
That's
did
good.
deliver.
That's good.
Take a dozen. Put it like eggs.
Yeah, it's big.
There you go. Bakes doesn't, so you can make a box.
Any other new business for the committee? Seeing none. The next item on the agenda is items for the good of the committee. As always, we have them available on hand. I know those of you, some of you want that on a consistent basis, or multiple copies. So that, our next regularly scheduled school committee, March 9th. There is no meeting scheduled for February. That hereby closes and concludes our agenda for this evening. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I think so.
Motion to adjourn by Chet, second by Jim. Questions, comments, discussion?
Just a quick one, don't forget March 9th is the budget hearing, do a public hearing, before you forget. Just to put that.
Before I forget, I was gonna say, I wasn't right here, and I usually remember that piece. It is the public hearing on March 9th, so be prepared to come early.
Yes.
March 9th,
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock.
In the library,
In the media center.
usually.
Media
So,
center.
all right, media center. All right, the motion to adjourn is still on the table. Questions, comments, discussions? Seeing none, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? We are done.